the topic of today is the letters B and B in Spanish. I know that they might have different names depending on what variety of Spanish you're dealing with, but let's stick to Mexico. B and V. The names are very similar, but in actuality, the way B and V are pronounced is B in Spanish, right? So they're never pronounced V. If you look at the chart here, the letter B is a voiced bilabial plosive. In English, the sound V, which is the sound of the letter V, is a voiced labiodental fricative. So we are dealing with the B and the V. They're both voiced and they both involve a labial sound. Before I go more deeply into this, I want to bring some words. For example, in English, bet and vet are a minimal pair because of the first sound, right? Because of be and ve. But if these two words were Spanish, they would be pronounced the same. Because of the fact that the letter B and V sound the same would make you think that there will be words in Spanish that potentially could be minimal pairs, but they are homophones because of these two letters. So if you're interested in the concept of homophones and homographs and all those things, I have a video about homophones specifically. So that would be your thought. Is that actually the case? It is. Example, vota and vota, vote and boot. This situation in which you have two different graphemes, which means written symbols, that are pronounced the same, not necessarily in Spanish, but in different languages, is usually due to historical reasons. So this would make me think or hypothesize that this was the case in Spanish as well. Obviously, this situation is not limited to the words vote and boot, bota and bota. There are other words in Spanish that could be a minimal pair, but they are homophones. Another example of this is the word for berry in Spanish, which is vaya. And the word vaya with a V as a verb for leave, third person singular subjunctive. For example, in the phrase, antes de que se vaya, before he leaves or she leaves. So these two words, which are spelled the same except for one letter, which is B or V, or B and V, potentially could be a minimal pair. They could be pronounced vaya and vaya, but in Spanish, they are pronounced as homophones. The point is that if you're a speaker of Spanish and you are learning English, what is the situation you're facing? So B and V or B and V in Spanish are homophones. They are not so in English. So the fact that these two letters sound different in English, which means that if you're a speaker of Spanish and you're learning English, you will be facing a challenge. Such as what? For example, the word for ban and van, if they were Spanish words, they would be pronounced as ban. But they're not in English. This one is pronounced ban and this one is pronounced van. So in Spanish, ban and van are pronounced the same if they were actually words, but in English they would be pronounced differently. So if you want to learn to pronounce the letter V, which happens to be a labiodental fricative, and it is voiced in the sense that your vocal folds vibrate. Now I'm going to go back to the topic of the previous video. So what is the speech production mechanism for this sound? The air is pushed out of the lungs to provide energy for the speech sound. In the larynx, the vocal folds are held tight together, and therefore there is vibration in the vocal folds when air passes between them. Therefore, this is a voiced sound. When there is vibration of the vocal folds, the sound is voiced. This is very important for the Spanish speaker. The uvula is lowered to block the nasal cavity so the air goes through the oral cavity, because this sound is exclusively oral and not nasal at all. The upper teeth come into contact with the lower lip to obstruct the airflow. However, there is room for air to pass between the teeth and lip continuously, which makes it a fricative sound. At this point, you might say, why would I need to learn this sound in the first place? Because the worst that could happen is that as a Spanish speaker, when I speak English, I will have some accent. And that's totally fine, because it's sometimes even cool to have an accent, right? Obviously, it's a choice whether you want to learn the sound or not. But I think accents can be very cool if there is no miscommunication, right? I already gave you a minimal pair in English, like ban and van. Especially in rapid communication, and sometimes the context doesn't clarify. If you pronounce this as ban and ban, you will lose the distinction in English. So if you're a speaker of Spanish, you learn English, you want to properly pronounce the words and do not experience any miscommunication, it's necessary for you to learn how to pronounce the sound V. Okay, if the sentence is I bought a van, and you say I bought a van, probably people would understand that you're talking about a van, not a ban, because you can figure out from the context. There have been so many van attacks that the government is going to ban all vans. It would be very confusing to understand a person who pronounces all of them as ban. There have been so many ban attacks that the government is going to ban all the bans. Although the context clarifies it, it's very difficult to follow and it's very confusing, right? Another minimal pair. Vet and bet. If you don't know the distinction between ba and ve, you would pronounce both of them as bet. You know, vet is like to screen. For example, if you want to become the president, you will be vetted. It means your background will be checked. Although people can bet whether you can become the president, but the government is going to vet your background. Voice is a last name in English. Voice, which is a noun typically, sometimes it's used as a verb. For example, you can voice your concerns, but they are pronounced differently. The first one is bilabial, the second one is labiodental. Voice and voice. Another minimal pair in English with ba and va, vine and vine. Also, ben and ven. Ben is a name, boy's name. Venn, like the Venn diagram in mathematics. Very, very. I'm very happy for you. I'm not very happy for you. Very and very. Bin and vin, like your car's VIN, vehicle identification number. Beer, veer. A promise, a person who pronounces va as ba while speaking English can result in a lot of confusion and likely miscommunication in certain contexts. So, feel free to keep your cute Spanish accent. If you think this is important, you can follow the speech mechanism, the speech production mechanism, and look at the pictures that I provided in the video and practice pronouncing the sound of va, which is a labiodental fricative. The sound you're already familiar with is bilabial plosive. They're similar in that both of them are voiced. They're also similar in the sense that both of them involve the lower lip. Those are the two similarities, but that's where the similarities end. They are different in the manner of articulation. The sound ba, which you have in Spanish, is a plosive. The sound va in English is a fricative. There was a similarity, a partial similarity in place of articulation because they both involve the lower lip, but the passive articulator is different. In the first case is the upper teeth, for the case of va. In the second case, it's the upper lip. The good news is that as long as you can replace your upper lip with your upper teeth, you can successfully pronounce this. Va.